The school closed 55 years ago, denying the final two classes the chance to graduate from the place they called the greatest school under the sun. Now, the Williston Senior High classes of 1969 and 1970 are receiving the ceremony they missed. Welcome to WECT's live coverage of the Williston Legacy graduation.
And welcome everyone to Williston Middle School. I'm John Evans, hosting today's coverage of the Williston Legacy graduation. This is a graduation that is more than 50 years in the making. Before we get to talk to some of the invited guests here today, we're going to give you a little bit of a background. This day is for the Williston Senior High School classes of 1969 and 1970. They were the rising juniors and seniors when the school year would have started in September of 1968. But they never got the chance to graduate from Williston High School. They were sent to either Hoggard or New Hanover. And what today is all about is giving all of those students who went through Williston Junior High School and then got to Williston Senior High but never got the chance to graduate from this building, the opportunity to get that graduation that they missed back in 1968. So before we come back for the graduation ceremony that will start at 2 o'clock, let's just give you a little bit of the history, how it all unfolded back in 1968.
June 7th, 1968. Williston High School's graduating class. These seniors at New Hanover County's all-black high school never knew generations of history would end with them.
Williston was a part of the cultural community. You had home, you had church, and you had Williston. It was a staple of the community. This was the epicenter of learning for us. This is where our parents went to school. This is where some of our grandparents went to school.
Williston's history dates back to 1866. Missionaries built the school to educate newly freed slaves. Williston became North Carolina's first accredited high school for black students in 1923. By 1968, a full 14 years after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled racial segregation in schools to be unconstitutional, the county school board still did not have a desegregation plan that satisfied the federal government. Already facing one lawsuit and the possibility of losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal funding, the school board voted on June 26th to abolish Williston Senior High, sending its 900 black students to predominantly white Hoggard and New Hanover high schools.
It sent a shock wave throughout the community. Nobody suspected it. Nobody understood why. And to this very day, nobody has ever explained to any of us why Williston High School was closed.
If some person from the board, central office, or even in the community had taken those students up at the last minute and tried to reassure them everything's going to be all right, it would have helped so much.
Bertha Todd worked as a librarian at Williston Senior High when the school board made its decision.
How were you treated at Hoggard when you went over there?
We looked like aliens to some at the first faculty meeting. Some teachers came up and welcomed us. Most of the teachers went about their business. And I've always said, even in my book, My Restless Journey, if the teachers got that kind of treatment, then the students, as immature as they were and as shocked as they were, may have gotten it worse.
As librarian and later assistant principal at Hoggard, Ms. Todd worked to keep the peace between students during the turbulent times that followed. Efforts like the Viking 16, a group of 8 black students and 8 white students she brought together to calmly discuss and debate the issues that divided the country.
Selecting those young students, black and white, gave them a feeling of importance, which is what I wanted them to feel.
But the racial strife remained. Fights in the schools led to fights in the streets. William Boykin of the class of 1970 remembers fearing for his life.
And when I got to my locker, I was surrounded by white students telling me, y'all think y'all are so damn smart, excuse my language. And I was just fortunate enough that right there was, down the hall was the assistant principal office that seen the crowd gathering that came and rescued me.
Now, 55 years after the decision to close Williston Senior High, alumni from those last two classes will be students again, given the graduation they never received.
All of my classmates thought that it was a very good idea and time for healing. And the question that has come up over and over again is, why did it take so long?
You have any idea what the emotion's going to be when you walk across the stage on that legacy graduation?
It's going to feel like I wish my parents were here. To see it. It's going to be an awesome feeling to walk across the stage of Williston Senior High School and get a diploma.
Along with that diploma, the hope is the alumni will receive some closure to help heal the hurt from 1968.
How do you think it'll help them in their healing?
I think it's going to help because you've corrected a mistake. It helped in their healing because they've dreamt for years about walking across this stage. And now they get an opportunity to do it. And especially it's so great because they can do it now in front of their family and friends.
Some of you will remember what we were told in the 50s and early 60s. What was on television, what somebody yelled out the window as we walked down the street, what even some of our relatives said. So some of you weren't there, so I'll remind you what they said. They said, we were less than human. We were stupid. We deserved the low status that we had in society. We could not learn very much. We were told we just had to live life as life presented itself to us. But when we came in these doors, we were presented with a totally different narrative. We were told that we were good people, that we had potential, that we had talent, that we could develop skills, that we could make great music, heal the sick, build buildings, and do many other things that our alumni have gone on to do.
James Franklin Spicer. Dorotha Brown Bennett. The George Bragg. Willie James Tony. James Carl Manning Jr. Grice. Leonard Grice. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the class of 1969. Yep.